everybody. How are you doing?
Hey, it's Scotch for Dummies.
He can monologue.
This looks different, right? And it should. This is the couch. Welcome to the Scotch for Dummies couch.
The therapy couch after Scotch show.
It's for therapy if you see what's
throw
in front of
darts
us.
from here.
When we're done with the show, we come back here and go, so tonight's show wasn't very good, Scott.
It's kind of like the green room, actually.
It is.
Right?
But if you look at what's in front of us, that you might notice that there's a theme, and there's a little bit of a theme because who we have as a guest. So we were blessed to have Andrew Raeburn from Deanston Distillery, who's got a long story about it, why he's even in the States right now, which is kind of cool. And he
Not
came
just
down,
to see us?
We can say that. He came just to see us. That's what we're telling everybody.
My son was pretty impressed.
He took a bus all the way from Scotland.
But
That's a long... Is that the magic school bus or something, or what?
he brought a couple of things for us to talk about and sample. We pulled some stuff out of the bar that comes from his experience, I guess, from Bunahab and Deanston. And we don't. Did we have any Tobermory? I'm not sure if we have any Tobermory.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, we do.
Yes,
right?
we do. There we go. So we're just going to have a casual conversation for dummies and someone who's not dumb about this. He actually works in the Deanston distillery. He's production. He's got experience in the production line. So what brought you to the States again?
I've forgotten, sorry. Yeah, so I was working at Deanston on the production side, and they offered some basically opportunity for an employee to come over to America to promote the brands for about a 6-month period, and here I am basically. So
You're the lucky winner?
I was a lucky winner.
So
Definitely.
did they do it for other markets as well? Did they say who wants to go to,
Yeah, it was kind of done for
Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, I was saying about that, but basically so basically they had the tour guides, and some of them went for it. A few other marketing people, but and a few. I think I was the only production guy went for it, but they chose me, and here I am.
I think it's an awesome idea to send somebody
That's pretty cool.
from that area. I mean, the tour guides obviously, and the people that do that, they're good at speaking and representing because they're in front of the public all the time. But to put somebody from a different experience, I think is awesome. Mm-hmm. But you also have experience being a tour guide, right?
Yeah, that's right. I worked at Edgedour for about a summer holiday once, and then I initially did that at Deanston before moving into production. So and Bunahab as well.
When you left Edgedour, it reduced their staff by 25%.
It was horrendous. Yeah, they didn't know what to do with themselves. Yeah.
It's a great story.
How small is that distillery, compared to, let's say, Deanston?
Oh, it's
because they're the smallest distillery in Scotland, right?
Yeah. Basically, it's probably not much bigger than this room. You got everything.
What?
Essentially, you got the stills, a little bit bigger, but
not much.
Basically.
So easy to tour.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, your baths, you can fit. It's like a big bath, basically, the mash tun. So it's a very, very small mash tun and everything. So.
Yeah, we were talking at dinner that if the two production workers can't carpool to work, because if they get in a wreck, the entire production is shut down for 6 months.
You got to separate.
Yeah, separate. It's like the president and the vice
They
president.
can't ever be in the same time.
Holiday vacations at serious fight. I'm taking next week off. No.
No, I'm out.
So what are we doing with empty glasses? That's what
I was
let's
just going to say, we started off wrong. We should have poured something.
What I'd like to do is since you are a production man, and let what of these expressions we have here most represent what you're making every day, whether it be young or whatever, to really allow us to talk about the new make, the spirit that you're putting out every day that is the same. Now, is that right?
Yes, the spirit, the way we make it, it's pretty much consistent. We've got a set way of doing things to make sure that there's no variations in how the spirit tastes over one batch to another. So we generally like to keep it more uniform.
So all the casks, the virgin oak, the burgundy cask, the 20-year-old, all is the same new make essentially.
Same recipe?
Yes.
Same.
Apart from the organic, that's a bit different.
Okay.
But yeah, generally for all the other production, it's all basically the same. So you should get the same from the new make spirit when you put in the cask. You're going to get the same aroma all the time. You can maybe have problems occasionally. There could be and there's a slight difference in smell. We tend to try and grade the new make spirit, make sure we have the right consistency, because at Deanston we not only make single malt, we also use for blends for not just our company, other companies. So we have to have a certain consistency. So making sure that they and
but it's the same ingredients, same grains,
yes,
same
100% barley.
malt, everything is always the same.
Yes.
Does that make it easier to make the cuts then? Because I mean, there's no variables that are changing. So to me, it's in my mind, it would be easier to make that cut. I know nothing has changed, so this should be exactly the way it was the day before.
Yes. I mean, I've not worked in the distiller so much, but to my knowledge, all the cuts are basically the same.
Huh. So before we pour something, why there's some variations? Obviously, Deanston doing having some Tomori is because you actually work for Distill, and they own all three companies.
Or distilleries, yes.
Distilleries, there we go.
Yeah, basically they've owned them basically since 2013, since they've taken over Burn Stewart. Yeah.
Who owned all three at the time?
Yes.
Right. Very similar to the Glendronach, Ben Riach, Brown takeover, not takeover, but acquisition.
Yeah. Buyout, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
So what's it going to be?
So where we start?
What would you
What's going
recommend?
on? What do you think?
We start with virgin oak. We start
You
with
have a plan
organic
here?
Do we have a version? What do we have here? That's the. Oh, okay.
That's
I would
heavy.
say let's go for the organic first.
All right.
If you want to do that.
Yeah, let's
Sure.
talk about
And,
this because this is how long has this been out? This is not part of your core, really.
It is actually. It is kind of. It's you got the 12, the virgin oak, the 18 is our main core range. This one's been out for quite a few years now. Although this is quite. Well, actually, this particular one came out last year. We had a few other 14 organic and a 15 organic, like sort of a square box. Well, this comes in a sort of cylinder. But this one is essentially all the barley that we use to produce it. It's certified by the Organic Federation in Scotland. It's then when it's brought to the distillery, we have to clean out the whole distillery before we actually process it. So none of any of the inorganic or barley would
Can't
affect
have that.
it. And then when we actually and then when you do the mashing and the distilling, it's pretty much the same process. But you find that the new make spirits I find a little bit fruitier. There's definitely a difference. It's
Really?
probably a higher quality barley. It's been got more attention's been given to it. So in my percept. Well, what I've had of it, anyway, it's definitely got a little bit of a slight fruitier kind of note to it.
Interesting.
And the casks that we use for it are essentially scraped inside and recharred to make sure it's not contaminated with any
Oh, wow.
previous.
Oh, wow.
Lots of serious work goes into this then.
Yes, so
Right.
it's well crafted and hopefully you will enjoy
Well, we
it.
can get you can get this in the States,
Yes, you can get it in Indiana. Actually, I did check. You
and
can
its
find it.
price point.
From memory, it is I think around about $99.
I was
we
going to
had
say,
some
if
kind
only
of
I
way
had an
to look at
internet-connected
device.
device.
Figure some pricing
Alright.
down the
Pour
fly.
him a scotch, please.
I like to block you out when you want me to pour?
Yeah,
let's shot
absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I think it was
before.
90 to 90 to $99. One of the, I think it's actually 90. I think
15-year organic. Got it.
There
Okay.
you go. Okay. Have you guys had organic whiskey before?
I don't think
No.
I have.
No, it wasn't Brooklotti, was it? I don't think we did there. Yeah, we no.
I've
we did
had
there.
one, but I don't remember which one it was, to be honest with you.
Not that
Does
we
Keel
recall.
Holman do one? I don't. I would guess it would.
They do the...
I don't know. I'm going to say I.
They don't do an organic, I don't think.
No, there was the. I'm thinking there's the
Brooklotti.
Brooklotti. Isle
Brooklotti
Barley.
does the Isla barley.
Yeah.
They also have an organic. They did have one. That,
I don't think we did the.
Yeah,
I don't think we
And
did
then
the
Kilhoman
organic.
does like a local barleyed one too, I think. Because it's a farm to
Yeah.
bottle kind of place.
Yeah. So online, Think Liquor has it for $101.99. So let's just say $100.
So it's about $100.
It's $100
All right.
bottle.
All right,
For a
let's pour.
15-year-old. I mean, and it's an
And-
eclectic 15-year-old because obviously you just heard of all the extra effort that goes into it to be able to put that organic label on it, right? So I mean, that's going to drive price point a little bit. You would expect.
So
and that's
I-
like 50.
my question is,
ABV too.
why did Deanston decide to do the organic? Was it there's something about the grain that they wanted to kind of feature? Because it's a lot of work.
yeah, I mean, I'm not exact. I mean, they started producing this in the early 2000s. I wasn't there when they actually started it, but I mean, Deanston is as you know probably yourself, we do hydroelectric power. We're trying to be quite a green distillery, so I think to improve that perception, you produced organic whiskey to kind of
Fair
fit in
enough.
that sort of image essentially. So, and yeah, it's been quite successful. We've had I think people who have tried it have really enjoyed it so far. So hopefully you guys will.
I'm really excited
Yeah,
to try
you
this.
guys
So you
go
said
on, pass it around.
we were looking at a fruitier profile than
The new make is
Deanston.
this one. It's got a little bit of caramelly kind of notes to it, and so,
Nah.
and it's
Pour for it?
Yeah.
it's got quite a nice long finish.
I just think it smells malty.
Yeah, some cereal notes to it.
Yeah.
And it's all unchilled filtered, I forgot to mention. I call
What's ABV? 48?
It's 46.
46.
And that's
43.
that's Deanston's claim. All non-chill filtered and natural color.
Yes, we don't like
Yes,
to
sir.
Yes, sir.
extract those elements.
Now, when you're distilling for blends, do they go in your casks, or they bring their casks to you to fill, or how does that work?
Well, for blends, they would basically take out in tankers. Essentially, the raw spirits
No
take
kidding.
out
Raw spirit
and then
in
it'll
tankers.
go off to other companies, and then
And they will barrel.
I think that's part of it. I mean,
Okay.
there may be instances where we would mature at the distillery, but most of it basically gets tankered off.
Okay.
I never even thought about that
I didn't think
perspective,
about that
right?
at all.
And they just throw it in a big tanker like milk or gasoline.
Well, how many
or-
years does Deanston make a year?
It's true.
It varies. Last year, I think we did around 1.8 million. We're really going for it this year, so we should hopefully get around about 2.2 million.
2.2 million alcohol
Hopefully,
liters.
yeah.
And
So that's the 100% alcohol, or is that alcohol
good.
liters, or is that liters of?
I think that's overall litered, but I'd have to double check.
No, overall
that.
literage,
Sorry,
so-
yeah.
That's a good question.
So that's coming off at 65 to 70% alcohol, give or
63.5
take.
or whatever.
Mhm.
Whatever they water to, I don't know. I
You
know
gotta
that
do a lot of
number.
math to convert.
That's why we have a chemical
from gallon.
engineer.
And Andrew, God love you.
Man, I'm thinking it's that dude. Who's down there? Oh, that's
2.2
Andrew. no
million
wonder.
liters, you said, or was it gallons?
I figured you'd be hung up on the
Liters?
fact that you
Is it
could build
liters?
a
yeah.
distillery the size of this room.
No,
So that's 500,000 gallons.
He's already
give or
got
take.
I think it's overall production. Yeah.
That's a lot of liquid.
I feel like that storage area in your basement would be better utilized as a distillery.
If it wasn't a federal offense, it would be.
So
Listen,
it, to
definitely-
It's
me,
also very nice about water. I forgot to add if you had to. What do we add?
we definitely.
yeah,
will.
we've got it. What did you think? Have you tasted it yet?
Yeah, so it's fruity. Like I've got like tropical fruits going on with this. Some bananas even. Like
It's got-
cereal, bananas.
It's got a nice cereal note. There's a nice little bit of spice on it, like cloves and pepper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's got some sweet qualities too. It's very well balanced. I like this one.
I do
Yeah,
too.
it's got
Smooth.
yeah,
thing I like
cereal,
about-
got caramel. You got notes.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's what I like. This spirit is
Buttery now.
Yeah, it's like this classic, what I think of, old school Scotch. It's they haven't, especially this organic. It's not like finished in some barrels to completely change the flavor and fruit it up or to do that. It's just like this meaty. What kind of barreling do they use? You said just ex-bourbon barrels,
But
scraped
straight.
and charred.
Straight
So
and
it's
charred.
like,
Or they could be in hogsheads as well. That have been scraped and recharred inside. But yeah,
but there's no like finishing in extra barrels or any of that kind of thing because it's all organic.
yes.
It's got a nice long sweet finish.
It got buttery though. The late finish got real buttery
It's
on
a
me.
dry finish too.
The first nose came off malty, and now the malt's kind of wafted off, and I get a real hard cereal, almost a little heathery. I don't know. Now it's a little fruity. It's definitely evolving. It's pretty good. It's definitely interesting.
2 million liters a year.
Yeah, I was just going to
So how
ask
many
you a
stills
question
does
on
that
that.
take?
Well, we have
Sucked in.
2 pairs of stills.
2 pairs.
Yes. Yes. So.
Okay. Wash on spirit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Take
Slow
30,000 liters for the wash still and 15,000 liters for the spirit still.
Those are big stills.
So
Yeah.
to crank out that number, how many days you guys shutting down a year? Is that you running 24/7, 365?
Well, excluding breakdowns, we'll basically have about we'll have shut for Christmas usually, and we had about a 3-week summer shutdown where we did some sort of refitting to the mash tun and everything.
So anybody back at home working right now at the distillery is looking at you, calling you a slacker because you're sitting here drinking.
I have a hard life.
Cheers to that.
You should apply.
He volunteered and they didn't. So
He had to take that bus all from Scotland.
the smart guy gets to come to the U.S.
Oh man. So what did you what were some of the things that you did in the distillery? What's a day in the life of you back at home working in the distillery? You get up and go to work?
So I did
Yeah.
quite a few jobs. I wasn't. So I worked in for example, the warehouse where you would roll casks around and fill casks, and then basically put them away in storage. So you have to use various types of machinery to make sure that they're stored correctly. And
They got any webcams or security cameras in there?
no, we've got some birds occasionally, but birds that nest in the back. But generally, no, the don't have that. It's all locked basically. We have a lot of security that way. And then my other part of the job was the mashman, where you'd essentially do the milling of getting the barley's delivered. You make sure it's all put into the hoppers, and then you would grind it down, mill it, and then eventually mash it into the mash tun. 10.5 tons into the mash tun itself. 40,000 litres for the first water, and then 2 more waters after that, basically. The first 2 extracted for the wort, and the last one just get blast residues. Overall, about from memory, about probably 9 to 10 hours to basically get through.
How many hours are we talking about?
About 10.5 hours usually, about to get a whole process, to get everything as well.
And that all goes in the fermenters then.
And then it goes in the wash back, 59,000 litres into the wash bags.
And then you get the fun job of scraping all the spent grain or scooping the.
Well, we have a rake that's supposed to do that, but
I know. That's what I'm saying. So you end up doing that. I know.
I like you said supposed to be.
There was a word in there like
brewing is hot with messy work.
We have a tool, but it doesn't work. So
it helps.
The mash tun's got a 1966 in the front, so it's quite an old piece of machinery. So it's basically sometimes you'll have to. Most of the time it does work all right, and it's not a problem. But occasionally you'll have to go in there and get your wellies on. Yes.
So what's the process of getting a job at the distillery? Are there certain jobs that you start out at and then you kind of apprentice into other jobs?
Yeah. So I mean, I started as a tour guide before for that, and basically a job came up in the distillery itself, and because you work within the actual family as such, it helps, I think, to sort of develop into that, and then as various things happen, you're able to move into different compartments and learn various aspects of the job. So that's essentially how it works.
It's kind of, you're a journeyman. Like it's
it's
the old school way to do those. It's a trade.
Yeah.
So you can't go to school for it per se. You've got it's a hands-on kind of thing, and it's fascinating to me. But it's a lot like being a chef. You can go to school to be a chef. If you're thinking about that, but
apply for a job at a distillery.
Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to come in, and I'm not going to hire you. It's just not going to happen.
You won't know how to cook.
Yeah, you won't know how to cook. But it's a process. You come in. Even if you go to school, I'm going to assume that you don't know anything, and we're going to start with the basics.
Yeah.
And we'll work you through, and eventually,
line cook, maybe?
5 or 10 years from now, I might trust you to do something. Probably not. But it's a process, and it's more hands-on learning. There's things you can't learn in a book. So it's repetition and just learning all the variations of the job.
Interestingly enough, last night we were at a small event, social whiskey event, and we had a conversation with somebody that was very centered around this topic about a distillery in India, or no, Taiwanese distillery. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to name any names. Really popular, winning a lot of awards, sherry bombs, just looks like coffee in the the guy I was talking to said, I really had a lot. I loved this until I talked to one of their ambassadors that told me how they're making their whiskey now, and it's all automated, all machine. The computer tells it when to cut. There's no craftsmanship, no artisanship anymore in it at all. And he's like, I just lost total respect for him. He goes, I still enjoy it, but it's hard to enjoy it when I know that there was no craftsmanship in it.
Robot whiskey.
Yeah.
John Connor basically made it.
I mean, you're going to get good quality and consistency. That's for darn sure, right? Because the robot's not falling asleep on the job every now and again. But you
I
don't.
think you're seeing that more and more, though.
That wasn't applied towards you at all.
No, I'm human element. The human element is what I'm
At 2
getting at.
million liters a year, there's got to be some automation involved with the process, isn't there? It's not a guy saying,
Well, I imagine some of it
That's
has
about
to be.
right.
Some chemical numbers are shown. and
Well, I
whatnot.
mean, there's certain aspects of the job that are automated. We have to use various screws to basically move the or valves to move things around, but a lot of it is hands-on as well. But I mean, the rake, does the job by itself, and all these sort of things. We have pumps to make sure everything, pumps around the
Not
distillery.
using buckets to transfer the liquid.
Yeah, donkeys that are going around to mill the grain.
Yeah, because if you go like to Glenturret, for example, I think their mash tun actually hand swoosh the thing, and they've got a very different process. So,
but I think a lot of the Scotch, especially the smaller boutique distillers, seem to take a lot of pride in this is hands-on, it's done the traditional way, and then you get like bigger ones like Macallan that there's no way you're doing all that by hand.
Yeah,
they sell 2 million cases a year, 5 million cases, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to one distillery in Speyside, and it was like in the engine room of the Starship Enterprise.
Yeah,
it was very, one guy on the panel
running the whole thing.
Yeah, so it's very
everywhere.
different. So in Deanston we have a stillman and a mash bin, and then basically we're working with each other and to make sure that everything's going correctly, because we kind of have to work as a team. So
Absolutely.
So what's your favorite part of working at a distillery? Like, we've got thousands of people that watch us every day that would kill for your job. But what do you love about it? What do you not love about it? I mean, everybody's got something about their job that they're like, oh man, I got to do that again.
well,
He's got to be careful. You don't want to burn bridges there.
Well, no, I mean, not that he hates his job, but that there's always that one thing about your job that you wish was a little
Like
different.
chopping onions.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't like chopping onions.
Trying to
You only cut yourself
to
so
help
many
them out.
times before you realize how to cut an onion up. But there are things about my job that I really enjoy, and there are other things that I'm like, I wish somebody else was doing that part of my job. Like, I would much rather just be doing this.
Because to put it fair, it's our vision of what you guys do there is like, woohoo, this is awesome! Yes, guys, who was known as Korean War?
So it's not like that every day, right?
no, sometimes the opposite, but
Exactly.
I was obviously, but I mean, to your point, it's got to be something that's kind of maybe irritating, or just like, oh, I have that part today.
yeah. But I mean, for me, what I really enjoy when I'm there is basically, you're turning sugars into alcohol, and seeing the yeast working to watch.
Right.
I mean, when you're there, you watch how the yeast or how the fermentation goes from the start to the very end, and there's and how the smell changes and things like that, and the chemistry, and so from I mean, I've got a sort of a scientific background, and I quite find all that sort of really
Right,
interesting.
right.
And also just the history of the place as well. I mean, a lot of the guys are local who work there, and there's a lot of, it used to be a cotton mill before it was a distillery.
Right.
That's one of the reasons I love the whole story of Deanston.
Right.
I just really enjoy the whole, that town's been there forever.
Yeah.
And it was mostly a cotton mill up until, the 1960s, 1970s?
Yes, so it was a cotton mill up to 1785 up to 1966, and it had 1,500 people worked there at its heyday. It's and it had a whole variety of society, but basically you had orphans were taken in by the mill managers to educate them and make them work as well.
Well, sure.
And you had it's just the way that's been sort of set up and how they built the village for the workers is quite an amazing thing. But so it's just an amazing place to work, really, and
How big is the distillery compared to the cotton production facility? I mean, it's not the entire thing, is it?
Yeah, so basically the buildings remain that were for the cotton production. Like, for example, the weaving shed's now the warehouse, for example. And and then there's another larger building where the stills are that used to be part of the mill as well. So a lot of it's gone, the original mill buildings. If you look at old photos from the early 20th century, now it's been replaced by newer warehouses. But we've got a lathe, so basically from the River Teith that bypasses the distillery, we have a lathe, a canal runs a mile upstream, joins with the river, and that takes water to the mill, and that used to power the big wheels that you read about. And now it's used for hydroelectric power, and you also that's where we get our water for the mashing and everything, basically. So
That's
it's
awesome.
So we're using the infrastructure of the mill to basically sort of supply.
So
the
kind of a genius idea, really, to take the old mill and turn it into a distillery.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things
A lot
that
of
the,
things
that
are
the mill
still-
needed
yeah.
that the distillery needs as
Right.
well.
All
You know,
industries need
source
water
things
and
like that.
energy.
Familiar
and-
aspect of those.
But earlier at dinner tonight we were talking. I said, researching. We always research a distillery before, if it's the first time we're reviewing a bottle from it, and a lot of them are the same story over and over. And I kind of this one really is. It does stand out. It's got a completely different story on how it got to where it is. I mean, it's so it does make it interesting, like you
Well,
said.
it's almost a feel-good story because
Yeah.
we're from the Midwest, Indiana, and there's a lot of towns that had that one factory that employed the entire town that shut down, except there was nothing else there, and those towns kind of dry up and blow away. Whereas this was a story where they just kind of reinvented
Yeah.
the town and what it did, and that's kind of a cool thing.
True.
Obviously you guys don't employ 1,500 people.
I was going to say
but-
we have 13 at the moment.
but you didn't have to knock down the distillery, the old buildings and just let it go. I mean, you turned it into a useful business again, which I think is pretty cool. And you keep increasing production, we'll keep buying. So
That's our plan, basically.
we love it.